And that means the #1 pick in the 2010 NBA draft will be made by the Washington Wizards.
Do it for Abe Poland, for my mama, for me, Mary and Barry, everybody. That old lady who was asleep. Do the John Wall. Do the John Wall.
Let's go to the graphic. As Reese alluded to, Washington, the big winner tonight, the #1 pick in the draft, followed by Philadelphia. They moved up as well. The losers here, New Jersey and Minnesota. New Jersey was expected to draft first. Minnesota, in 13 tries, has never improved their draft stock in the lottery. Then it's Sacramento, Golden State, Detroit. The second half of this played out as expected.
13 losers.
That's right, including Mikhail Prokhorov, who may be a Russian billionaire, a notorious playboy, a jet ski enthusiast, as we all know, but as the Nets owner, he's got to get used to disappointment. To help us dissect tonight's draft lottery, we have Kevin Burke from thehoopdoctors.com. Kevin, let's talk right away. Has this become a very easy decision for the Washington Wizards?
If the Nets did, in fact, have the #1 pick, you could make an argument why they should not have taken John Wall. This makes it a slam dunk now. When you pair John Wall with Gilbert Arenas, a guy who I think, before he actually had that knee injury a few years ago, he was a year away from being a household name. You pair him with John Wall, a guy who's 19. He's a pass-first guy. How often do you see a guy who's 19 being a pass-first guy? You slide Arenas over to the 2. They have the makeup to be one of the most dynamic backcourts in the NBA, no doubt. So I think it's a slam dunk. Obviously, the NBA comparison to Wall is Derrick Rose. Yeah. I mean, but I think Wall's more of a pass-first guy than Derrick Rose is.
Do you think there's any way the Nets would have passed on a franchise-changing guy like John Wall because of Devin Harris, who took them to all the 12 wins last season?
Listen, that Nets team, that's not a 12-win Nets team. That was more like a 20-win Nets team. I mean,
that's point guard and coaching. That's point guard and coaching.
I mean, he was injured for most of the season. I mean, Devin Harris, I think he's a top 10 point guard. I mean, you can make the argument that he's just as explosive, just as quick as John Wall, but you got to take Wall, and then you can package Devin Harris, get him out of there. He's shown that he's kind of injury prone of late, but you have to have taken John Wall if you had the #1 pick, no doubt.
We'll get to the Nets in just a bit, but as for that second pick, the Sixers move up. Who do you see them grabbing? That one sort of looks like a lock as well, I would think.
Evan Turner by default, but is that not Andre Iguodala, or am I missing something here?
Yeah.
I mean, but since they took, Iverson in '96, this is the next superstar. I mean, when they drafted Iguodala and Thaddeus Young, they weren't really the household names. With Evan Turner, he's a household name. The city of Philly has something to be excited about. With Evan Turner, I compare him to a Brandon Roy / a Danny Granger, a guy who can play inside and out. He can handle the ball, put the ball on the floor, shoot the 3. A little more well-rounded offensively than Iguodala, but at the same time, they're kind of the same player, but maybe you can package Iguodala. He's kind of been unhappy lately, so maybe he gets his way out of Philly.
Turner will be better with rest. Defending him, he played 40 minutes a game in college. Thad Matta, the laziest coach in sports.
Well, we'll see. He'll be charged with probably handling the ball as much as he did in college with the Sixers if they play him with Iguodala. Third pick, the Nets don't have to make this decision now.
Right.
Things get easier. They're not happy about it, but where do they go?
Derek Favors, Georgia Tech. Is it just me, or is Derek Favors not a right-handed version of Chris Bosh, a guy who also went to Georgia Tech, another yellow jacket? I mean, it seems like Chris Bosh, 4 years later, he can play. He's not really a bruiser down low. He's more of a finesse guy down low, but he can finish around the bucket with either hand, step out, shoot the 10 to 15-footer. I think he's definitely a good pick for the Nets. You put him next to a Brook Lopez. I mean, that's a front line. Again, you also have the Terrence Williams, the Sean Williams. That's going to be a force to be reckoned with. They have to just build their backcourt, but I think Favors is definitely a slam dunk, no doubt.
Wouldn't you say that after that top 3, though, it seems like that's the top tier? If not Wall, the top tier, and then you have Turner and Favors.
I would say so. I mean, you can make the argument for Cousins being a top tier, if you will. By default, we'll throw him in there. But, I mean, Cousins, we'll get to Cousins in a second, I guess, but he doesn't seem like to answer your question, yes, those are the top 4 guys. And also, I think Wesley Johnson as well.
Do you see Wes Johnson going 4 here after those top 3? You got Johnson, Favors. Who goes 4?
4 definitely has to be Wes Johnson. You can make the argument for DeMarcus Cousins. On everyone's board, he's number 4, but are you really going to play DeMarcus Cousins with a Kevin Love and an Al Jefferson? There's only one basketball, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So you have to take a Wes Johnson. You hit him in the backcourt with Johnny Flynn, 2 Syracuse guys. I mean, granted, they missed each other, but 2 Syracuse guys. I mean, they've got the makeup now. The front court, the back court, they just have to put some wins together, and they should be all set.
What about Cousins? Do you think this guy, with some of the baggage that he's carrying into the NBA, can be an effective pro, or is he, the second coming of Rasheed Wallace from an attitude standpoint?
Derek Coleman feels reincarnated when he watches DeMarcus Cousins.
I think Cousins, I'm not 100% sold on Cousins. had the benefit of playing with a hell of a team in Kentucky. You know, all the freshmen, the Fab Four freshmen. We heard of all this. But with Cousins, I'm not sure. To me, he seems like more like a DeJuan Blair, a more polished DeJuan Blair. So, I mean, he has some off-the-court problems. They have some work ethic issues. And I can see, as a mirror, can you see his weight ballooning in the next couple of years? He just seems like he's on the cusp.
I think that's a concern. I mean,
right.
But it's interesting. He played with a fast point guard this year at Kentucky, and he's going to play with another former Calipari point guard, in Tyreek Evans, who gets up and down the court in Sacramento. So his weight can't balloon if he's going to be running up and down the court with Evans.
It'd be tough.
Let's move on. Golden State. Who do you see there? A lot of people have been thinking maybe they're high on guards right now. They need some help inside.
Greg Monroe was born to play in this system, this dynamic system in Golden State. I mean, like you said, this team runs like no one's business. Greg Monroe is an anomaly. I mean, the guy's 6'10", 6'11". He can pass from the high post. They play the high-low game. He can post up. His best attribute is passing out of the post up, out of the block rather. So you have your Stephen Curry. You've got your Monte Ellis out there. You got to get bigger and a guy who can run. I mean, if Greg Monroe does not belong in Golden State, I have no idea who does.
All right.
And my NBA comparison to him is a Lamar Odom.
I agree with
that.
Yeah.
So I think Odom's a little bit more athletic.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting caught up in the whole thing, the whole lefty thing. Maybe that's why I'm getting skewed, but I'm going to go with Lamar Odom.
Creates a nice inside-out game for Golden State,
Absolutely.
too. Lacking right now.
Well, let's review those top 7 picks, because Cole Aldridge, as we know, you're going to slot in as the 7th pick right here. Big man from Kansas. 7, he'll go to the Pistons, and then we see Greg Monroe, as you said, 6, John Wall, 1.
Yeah!
My God. All right, there they are. DeMarcus Cousins 5, Johnson Favors, and this is page 2. Aminu from Wake Forest in at 8. Xavier Henry, the first freshman to ever leave Kansas, slotted in there at 10. We see a lot of familiar names here.
Where's Scotty Reynolds?
But you know what? Equally as important, our boy, the guy that we've hubbed just constantly on this show, Gordon Hayward, out of Butler. Rapper extraordinaire. Leaves Butler early. Where do you see him going?
The old adage, strike when the iron's hot. He did what he was supposed to do. Butler, not a household name. Maybe they are now. They're just a few bounces away from winning a national championship. You got to get out of town now if you're Gordon Hayward, definitely. I see him early to mid 20s, somewhere in that range. He's kind of a Mike Dunleavy reborn, if I may say so myself.
It's a tough sales pitch.
Yeah, right. If Mike was a 3rd pick overall, he shouldn't have been that high. So luckily for Hayward, he's going to fall where he should fall, which is in the 20s. I see a team like Minnesota.
Mike Dunleavy because he was white.
That might have played into it, but their games are very similar. So I could see Minnesota with the 23rd pick coming off the bench and maybe becoming an all-star or kind of a Mike Miller guy down the line, probably.
All right, good stuff, Kevin. We really appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
Can you do the John Wall on the way out?
I will not do the John Wall.
Yeah, well done. I appreciate that. You're welcome back now. All right, we got to go, but check out Kevin Burke's weekly podcast at thehoopdoctors.com.